Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you're a veteran, welcome back. Today, I have a question for you.
Wait. I want to say something.
What?
If you are a new listener, subscribe. We have thousands of people looking at it, and you guys are not subscribing. Come on.
Yeah, like now?
Subscribe. Right now. Just
We're not going to continue.
Yeah, that's it.
So let's wait. We're going to sit in silence,
Yeah, just click.
awkward silence as they're watching.
Yeah. All right, let's go. I hope you like it if you're watching it. Especially, I see some of those are thousands of watching, and we need more subscribers, guys. It helps me out.
Yeah, there's X amount, like, I don't know what percentage, but 30-40% that are not subscribers.
More than that.
Or more. Almost half are not subscribers.
At least a half, I think. Yeah.
So,
anyway, let's go back to
yes.
real stuff.
The real stuff is the question for Hans is: do we start protection first or obedience first? Does it matter? Is there a succession?
It matters.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that there's like several things which are intertwined with each other, and I was debating it in my head. I debate things in my head.
You're known to do that a few times.
Yeah, I play chess with myself in my head.
Yes.
You ever try to play chess with yourself?
No.
It's exceedingly difficult.
Yes, that's why I don't do it.
But do you know how to play chess?
I do, yeah.
Well, so you just set up a board, right? And you make a move and then you turn it around and,
Hans is a very smart guy. He's got a very high IQ. And I joke with Hans. He says no, but he does. I said, I feel like I'm on Jeopardy every time I talk to you. I got to get my dictionary out.
But better than if I would be a dumbass.
It is better, yeah.
Much better.
It is better, yeah. I have to have my A game out when I talk to Hans.
Even so, I breathe with my mouth a lot.
Because he
I'm not mouth breather.
Do you understand what I said? Not just like,
Well, because people do that. I keep saying, and I lost them 5 minutes ago, and I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I lost them, or if I lost them, right? And the same thing is, people say, you interrupting me. I said, there's no point for you to continue because I don't know from now on what you're saying. You can just say blah, blah, blah. That's it. Same thing to me. So you got to stop and rewind a little bit. And, it's respectful, you have a person who is trying to explain you something. Mm-hmm. And, if you don't understand, don't just keep nodding like a retard,
Yeah.
It's much better if you say, hey, wait, you lost me. Can you explain this or that? Mm-hmm. I appreciate that, actually. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, going back to when you go on internet, right, and people talk about protection training, mm-hmm. and I've seen it since decades, right, ago. Yeah. People are freaking out like what's, that you need to have a control over the dog during protection.
Yeah.
And there's like a misconception on that, right? It depends how you train the dog. Yeah. Okay, if you train the dog in a way that in drive so that he works for itself, mm-hmm. then you need a lot of control, right? But if you train the dog like I train it, where the dog works for me and with me, there is no really control because we're like team on the same task, right? So when I say stop because I'm in leadership position, we stop, and dog is okay with it. It's not like dog which is in drive and he's not okay with it, and I need to have a control over it. Yeah. So I need to correct harshly the dog, if he doesn't pay attention and all that, and doesn't want to listen to me.
Yeah.
Right? It's two different things, which is really important, And the dog, this is not a really simple topic, okay? Because it's there's a lot of moving parts in it, So when you
And
when you train protection, you are relinquishing to the dog your leadership position, right? So as soon as you give him a command, you stop being leader and dog is leader, right? For that moment, until you say, okay, that's enough. And then the dog is not leader anymore and you are leader. The reason for that is that the dog will not protect a leader. You gotta relinquish your leadership position to the dog so he protects you. That is when you work in a defense drive, like I train.
yeah,
Now, if you train in prey drive, then the dog is not working for you and with you, like when you're working in defense drive, but it's working for itself, right? Yeah. And there you need to have a control, a really serious control.
yeah.
And so because if the dog decides to, and it's not just control and protection, it's control all over the relationship when you have with the dog. So when you train obedience and drive, then it's a competition between your corrections and your reward with the dog trying to do something else, like chasing cat, right? So what is the more valuable motivation? Your cookie or
The cat.
or toy or the cat, right? So, and that's what happens when you train dog in protection, in prey drive, in sport, right? For example, then the dog is doing it because the prey drive, and that prey drive is satisfying himself. He's not doing it for you. He's just doing it for the prey drive.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? So I hope it makes sense, you know. Yeah. So when you then have a little puppy and you, let's say, wanna train the dog for personal protection in a civil manner based on defense drive, like I'm doing it, then you have this conundrum, right? What to teach first? Because if you teach obedience or protection, because if you teach first obedience, you're establishing strong leadership position over the dog through that type of obedience, talking out of drive obedience.
Yeah.
You're establishing strong leadership position, which is really important. But then, since you are in leadership position, dog doesn't want to protect you.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see it a lot of times, you know, when you start with a dog who was trained with rigid obedience, where the handler established strong leadership position, and he tells the dog to attack, the dog doesn't want to do it, and if he does it, when he runs into the end of the leash, he thinks he got corrected, and he goes right back, oops, I did something wrong.
I've seen this on the field,
right,
over the time, and you did tell the person, "Are you doing too hard of an obedience on the dog?"
Right. So now we gotta, if we are in that type of situation, we need to communicate to the dog that now and then they're in a leadership position.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's difficult because when we do the obedience first, we are establishing default that I am in leadership position. Yeah. Now I gotta willfully violate the default when I giving the dog command to protect, to tell him, like a general would tell to the platoon leader, go ahead and kick ass. Yeah. Right? You are in leadership position for that scenario. Yeah. And the general, meaning the handler, is out of picture until he resumes or reacquires the leadership position, tells the platoon being the dog, the general tells the platoon, okay, done, stop, right? And the platoon stops and come to the camp, right? Or base. So that's one way, meaning that's when we start with the obedience first and we establish strong leadership position through the obedience. And default, as you know, is for life, right? Yeah. So you are kind of losing, when you're doing protection, you want to come as close to the 100% of leadership, of potential of the protection. You want to come as close to it as possible. And you will make a little mistake. So let's say on scale from 1 to 100, you want to come as close to 100 as possible.
Yeah.
And every time you make a little mistake,
yeah,
you are losing the ability to come to 100. Mm-hmm. And that happens inevitably. It's almost impossible to come to 100, but you got to keep it down. And so when you establish leadership position through obedience first, then you knock that potential from 100 down, mm-hmm. sometimes to 50.
Mm-hmm. Which
yeah, I mean, it's just my gut feeling based on my experience, Or even worse, dog just completely refuses to do, mm-hmm. so that would be 0, right? Mm-hmm. Dog completely refuses to do protection. How many times, somebody just on Facebook today said, I have this dog and, he doesn't want to do protection. And I said, does the dog bark when he see people walking in front of the house through the window? Oh, yeah, he barks. So in other words, the dog has ability, but as soon as you step in with your, you have such a strong leadership position that the dog is basically say, you go ahead and bite him. Yeah. You are in leadership position. Yeah. The person or the pack member in leadership position is supposed to protect. And so it's you, so you do it. And the dog shuts down. Yeah. So now you got to convince the dog that when I say alert command like pozor or attack command like drž, I'm talking Czech commands here, that the dog is in leadership position, right?
Yeah.
And you can see it sometimes we go and I've seen it. I would tie the dog to the fence, right? Mm-hmm. And tell the handler, go away from the dog, like 15, 20 feet, and give him a command. And the influence of the handler over the dog, or let me say it a different way, the influence of the leadership position default over the dog is diminishing with square of the distance, right? So if you are right there next to you, the dog is right there next to you, your leadership position is tremendous if you established it with obedience first. Yeah. But if you're going further and further and further, then the dog is more on its own and your influence of your leadership position is smaller and smaller. Now the dog is able to do the protection, right? So you keep coming closer and closer to the dog in that situation, and always when he does protection, the dog does, you give him a command from those 15, 20 feet away from being away from him, and the decoy come at the dog, and the dog turns on, and the handler comes and says, good boy, and praises the dog. Yeah. And you will see sometimes, a lot of times, when he starts praising, the dog completely shuts down and goes, oh, okay, daddy is happy, completely forget about the protection scenario, right? Yeah. So you got to work around all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's possible, but remember, even if you succeed, you just lowered irreparably the potential to 100, you lowered it down in best case scenario to 90 or 80 or 75. So you will never get up there, And if the dog is super high driven, it doesn't matter as much. That's why a lot of people who fuck up in dog training are liking high driven dogs because they're more...
Their mistakes are covered
by the drive of the dog.
It's not their training.
Yeah, it's not their training, So what I like to do, and I'm not saying that you people should do this, right? But what I like to do, I just start with with the protection. Forget obedience. Oh, you have a dog with no control. That's horrible. Well, one of the things is, personally, just by the way I'm handling the dogs in everyday life, I'm establishing leadership position. Not through the obedience training, but also through just being around them.
Yeah.
Right. So I start with really young puppy, and when I use, let's say, the porch training, right?
Yeah.
So I sit on the porch and somebody's coming and puppy starts barking, and I say pozor. You know, in other words, I am enhancing his and confirming that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And he barks, right? And
with a pet?
Well, with my voice first and pet too, you know. Make sure if you praise and pet the dog too enthusiastically, they may completely forget about doing protection. So then in that case, just delay the positive reward for a little later, okay? Meaning within that very scenario, right?
Yeah.
So the dog barks, woof, 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 say, good boy, pozor, pozor, pozor. And dog does it, and then you want him to stop. So you say, good boy, and pet him and say, it's enough now, okay? Mm-hmm. Right? And so the other extreme, so the first extreme, you do obedience first and then protection, and you run into these problems as I described to you already. Or you can start with the protection first, and then do the obedience, right? And I personally prefer that because I can always establish obedience and leadership position through obedience later.
But the other way around, possibly you can.
Well, when I do the protection first, I'm able to come closer to the 100% potential.
Yeah.
Okay. And of genetic potential of the dogs to do the protection.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no obedience out.
Right, because there's no obedience and the dog is unencumbered by some kind of prejudices.
Yeah.
And defaults.
So you get a clearer picture of the dog, basically.
Right. And then you can put the obedience pretty quick. Okay, to establish default, sometimes it takes only one step.
Uh-huh.
So let's say I tell the dog to attack, and dog is targeting the decoy, and agitation happens, and dog attack, and I'm teaching the dog he's the enemy, and if you hear my command, it's you do this, right?
Yeah.
And dog is all that in leadership position, and it takes only sometimes once. Usually, the default is built in first try. First scenario. And then it gets reaffirmed more in the other scenario, but it always starts with the first scenario. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you decide at first what are you going to do.
Yeah.
So personally, I'll give the dog completely out of control protection command. He can do what the hell he wants. He want to kick ass, and I praise him for it. And I associate it with proper conditioning with the alert command and attack command.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, people freak out because they think the dog is out of control, which to a degree he is at that moment.
Yeah,
right. But then later on, I make sure, and I'm going back to, I always taught the dog to work with me and for me, right? We had that relationship. And I tell him, it's okay, right? And we do that when we're walking around playing.
Yeah,
it's
pet
okay.
the dog. It's okay.
Pet the dog. Yeah. And to the dog means it's okay, we're done. He's a friend. So let's say if you do the porch training, when the Myrna bringing you apple pie, right? And dog barks, and she's way the hell out there, I'll give him a command to be aggressive, the puppy, next to me. And then when Myrna comes close, I say, oh, it's just Myrna, higher pitch voice.
Yeah.
Meaning positive. And I say, it's okay, it's just Myrna. Don't, bring apple pie, and meatloaf to you.
Yeah.
Right? And the dog sees that, okay, there's no danger.
Yeah.
But he still may go woof woof, right? And right there, I say no, and give him a little correction,
Yeah.
right? Because I already told you it's a friend.
Yeah.
You got to be on the same page as I am.
Yeah. That's the difference between diffusion and the diffused
And under control.
control.
Yeah. You know, so, and after a while, the dog learns when I say it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's a friend.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when I start doing the obedience out of drive, obedience, not in drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so I start out of drive obedience, where the dog does things not because he likes to, but because he has to, because I said so, and that's how, and that's how I'm establishing leadership position. And when he does it, I'll praise him and pet him, and I'm acting happy, and dog is happy that I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have these two approaches: obedience first, then protection, or protection first and then obedience.
Yeah.
And it really, either way you can reach to success. It's just, I've seen so many people shut their dogs down by doing too much control. For example, they go there and they tell the dog, pozor, and dog go, "Wah, wah, wah, wah," and they immediately shut the dog down, saying, "Foy, okay, it's enough." And dog like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Let the dog have a fun with it for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's why you tell us when we go on the field, don't do any obedience on the dog.
Right. Just walk in there.
Walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell us all.
Yeah. Eventually you can do it, obedience,
Yeah.
Heel and all that, and then protection, and then take the obedience back,
Yeah.
But some people are really terrified that they lose control with the dog, so that when the dog shows protection, they immediately start doing control work.
Yeah.
And they're confusing crap out of the dog.
Yeah.
Because he says, well, I'm protecting you, you want me to protect you, and then you immediately shut me down.
Yeah.
Let him do a few protection. Let him do 10 sessions, just protections.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that makes sense. And at the end, for my dog, Hans tells, because he used to spin around and didn't quite get me, but he tried. You told at the end, when we know we're done, say, put him in a down position.
Right.
Because you want him, that's it.
Well, that spinning and nipping, I debated it a lot. It's called misdirected aggression.
Yeah.
Right. It's like akin to holding the dog, the guys in a bar fight holding a guy back while he want to fight somebody else, and so he starts punching his friends to let him.
Friend,
So he start punching his friends to let go. Yeah. So the dog will do the same thing.
I'm just saying, you told me that then that's like we're ending and put him in a down position.
And that way you establish leadership position, we're done.
Yeah, and then you said just good boy.
Right.
Done. Right. Yeah. So
So
if you enjoyed this content so far, please subscribe to our channel. Also, Hans has a podcast channel called Dog Training for Life. Check that out so you can listen to the audio version.
Well, anyway, that's about it. But I hope I made it clear. So recap it. You're dealing with, is the dog working for you or with you, or is he working for himself? You want always dog to work for you and with you. Okay, that's number one. And then you have two ways: either do obedience first and then protection. But then you're running into the problem because you're in leadership position. So the dog will say, you do the protection since you are in leadership position. Dog doesn't want to do it. So then you got to remove yourself from the dog at least 15, 20 feet while he's chained up to a stake, and making sure that your influence as a leader, which is diminished with square of the distance, is so small that now the dog feels free to do protection. You saw that when we tied the dog up, or we can completely remove the handler. completely. Just go sit in your car. And we tie up the dog, and the decoy comes at the dog, and the dog may be like a gangbusters. So it's in him, but when the handler who is in strong leadership position come down, he shuts it down.
Yeah.
Because
it's a huge problem in a real situation.
Oh yeah. You know, and it's a training issue. You got to recognize that issue.
Yeah.
You know, I see people all the time. You know, on Facebook, they say, "Well, my dog doesn't, want to do protection." They show me video, and the dog is kind of like whatever. So they try to bring it out of the dog with spray drive and all that, and do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I ask him, well, if you sit on the couch, watch TV, and dog is laying down and sleeping in the middle of the living room, and I'll come to your door and bang with a fist, bang, 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 bang. What is the dog gonna do? And he says, he's gonna pop up and bark. I said, okay, so you have a good dog. Yeah. Now you gotta figure out how to get it out of him so he does it on command.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where a lot of this stuff is in those videos which we are selling.
Yeah.
Which we are selling.
Yeah.
You know, which will help you to do this. But it's, don't worry to do protection first, I think. Because if you are able to establish leadership position before you do protection, why wouldn't you be able to establish leadership position after you do the protection first, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more advanced move to do it the other way, a little bit. Like, not advanced, but you have to be pretty experienced. You understand that.
To do what?
I mean, to start with protection first.
I think it's easier.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what are we doing? Are we when we train protection? When I train protection, I want the dog to kick ass as much as possible.
That's it.
When I give the command, I want the dog to be unencumbered, gangbuster, just go kick ass.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna get it if you start with a really strong leadership position. Yeah, you may have more control and all that, but the dog is gonna be right? So now, if your life is online,
Yeah. So that's where the conglomerate of dog training. People.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have these videos to clarify some of these things.
Yeah. Well, I talked to some dog trainers about this, and I got, they said, do the obedience first. That's what they say. Mm-hmm. Do the obedience first, and then when you start protection, remove the handler away from the dog. Mm-hmm. So if the handler's leadership position doesn't come in play. He can be 15, 20, 30 feet away from the dog and give the dog command, pozor.
Mm-hmm.
Now his leadership position is not really strong because he's so far away from the dog in feet. I mean, far.
Yeah.
And so he gives the dog pozor command, and then the situation comes, and he barks, and then the handler can come closer and closer and closer to the dog. Yeah. And the dog then learns, okay, if I hear this command, then I'm in leadership position. Yeah. That's a pretty good way to go. Yeah. If you really worry about that you will lose control, and personally, I know I will never lose control over the dog, right? I train thousands of dogs, so I do protection first, and then I say, okay, now we're done, and now shut up. Now I'm in leadership position. And dogs understand that, So either way, it's good. You just got to understand what you're dealing with, I don't want you, when you train dog, just to do it because because Hans said do it this way or that way. You got to know why, right? So you can go either way, okay, in this case. But you got to understand why and what to do about it. And what you are dealing with, the negatives. Right?
Yeah.
Another thing which people say erroneously, critique of my training, they say that the dog is then dangerous because, he's aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, the dog will never be allowed to be aggressive unless he hears the command.
Yeah, only up command.
All right? So even so the handler is 15, 20 feet away from the dog, he's still giving the dog command.
Yeah,
Okay?
makes sense.
So the dog cannot do any aggression. We never solicit aggression from the dog unless the command was given first.
Yeah, on its own.
On its own.
No. Yeah.
Now, later on, the dog may be protective on its own, like when somebody kicks your door at 2 o'clock at night and you are... then, but that's different. Then, you first gotta do it with the command first, right?
Yeah.
That's another good topic, should the dog do it on command or automatically?
The
protection. We should do topic on that. But that's different.
Yep.
I kind of drifted a little bit on this. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lars.
Subscribe.
Yes, subscribe.
Right now.
Now.
I'm telling you, I'm in leadership position.
Watching every Hans will go.
You see that lens on top of your... I'm peeking right through it.
That's right. If you're interested in learning more about training a personal protection dog, Hans is a 4-part video series on the website at Alpine K9 Real, like realistic.
REAL.
REAL. Also, there's other videos of how to feed puppies raw. The out of drive obedience video, which is probably one of the most popular video.
It's important too.
Yeah, meaning no cookies or toys.
And you don't see that very much, the out of drive. Everybody trains in drive because it looks good.
Yeah, we dare you right now. Look, once you stop watching this video, we guarantee you like 99% of the videos on YouTube, you'll see the food bag, toy, food, some e-collar, something. There's no...
Yeah, let me say something about this right now. If you want to train the dog in drive, I have no problem with it. Okay, but first start with out of drive. Why? Because you're establishing leadership position through out of drive. And once you have it, then you can do in drive, right? If you would do it the other way around, you will never be able to establish leadership position.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, practically.
Well,
in principle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hans knows what he's talking about. I've learned a few things in the last 55 years. So,
it only makes sense, It's logical and natural. If your training is not logical and natural, then you're not doing something right.
Doesn't matter what people say.
And when you train dogs, guys, don't just do it because somebody told you. Because somebody told you so. Told you to do it that way. You do it because you understand it and it's part of you, and you know that that's how it needs to be done because of that.
Yeah.
Because of some reasons.
Big difference.
Yeah, don't be blindly following some guru telling you what to do without understanding it.
Yeah. Hans says if you learn something, or if you, what did you say, remember something, you forget it. It's the same concept, right? Similar.
If you memorize it, you will forget it. And if you understand it, you will never forget it. Yeah.
That's it. All right, guys.
All right.
See you next time.
Ahoy.